What's up everybody and welcome back. If you don't know, I like looking for things that make stories unique, especially when they're romance. And I found a very unique one that is so adorable and full of potential and whose chapter releases are looking very promising. Today I'm recommending Yachiru-san Grows When Praised, which is being made by Tono Hitoka and is 2 chapters, and it's a yokai romance comedy supernatural that has a very interesting take on the romance yokai trope, which I have personally only seen a few times, and they have always been action related. This is clearly a romance through and through, with the unique twist being the main girl is a yokai, but not one the vast majority of us would know, because she's Hasshaku, and the legend behind her is that she's an 8-foot tall woman in a white dress who kidnaps children. But in the modern day, the image of her has drastically changed. Instead of being seen as a scary yokai, she's now seen as an ecchi one, which has been very problematic for Hasshaku, who goes by Yachiru, because spirits and ghosts are influenced by the image humans have of them, and can go as far as changing their appearance and nature. And because of the drastic image change people have had towards her, she's shrunk from 8 foot tall to 6'2", and has become weak and timid. So to try and recover her height and strength, she does things to try and change people's minds about her, by live streaming saying she's actually scary, and getting a job at a haunted house, which she gets fired from immediately. So her last resort is to see a scary movie to learn how to be scary, which obviously only ends with her being scared, which would seem like a bad thing, but leads to her meeting Seiichiro Kitty, who asks if she's alright. Seeing that she's obviously not alright, and that she forgot her umbrella, he follows her out and buys her a drink so she can calm down, leading to them having a conversation that reveals she's working at the haunted house as Hasshaku. But because of the complex that she's developed around herself, Yachiru becomes self-deprecating before Kitty can be towards Hasshaku. But he immediately corrects her, saying that Hasshaku is not an indecent monster, but a scary one, because he doesn't like what her image has become as a horror fan with a special fondness for Hasshaku, because apparently as a kid he read her story, and that's where his love for horror, but more specifically Hasshaku, began. But as he tells Yachiru how Hasshaku is his favorite, she begins to grow bigger again, until she's more than a foot taller than him. It doesn't last long though, as she shrinks back down almost immediately, but because she grew in front of him, she now has to reveal to Kitty that she is in fact the actual Hasshaku. So the two go to a restaurant so Yachiru can explain herself, and asks Kitty for his help in figuring out why she got big and how to stay big. Kitty obviously agrees and causes her to grow again in the restaurant, which only helps play into the indecent depiction of her, which is and isn't a problem for Kitty, because he's already captivated by Yachiru, thinking she's adorable, and she satisfies the complex that he developed as a child from reading her legend of wanting a girl taller than him. So they're a perfect match, since she's slightly taller than him in her shorter form, but he loves when she gets bigger. I know this may sound ridiculous, but it is absolutely fantastic. The art style, characters, and story alone would still have me loving this if she was just a girl that's taller than him. But the added yokai growth aspect just adds so much more flair to it that I can't get enough. I can't tell you what the story will be like going forward yet, since there are only a few chapters out, and chapter 2 is basically a manga cafe date where Kitty makes Yachiru grow again, which I assume will happen pretty much every chapter, but the story outside of the gimmick is left to be seen. But so far, the exploration of why she grows, how she grows, what makes her grow, and more importantly, how to get her power back to control it and change the public image of herself, all seem like great story elements that can take this very far. Obviously, none of those will be the best element, because that will be their romance, with Kitty seemingly going to be the first one to fall, seeing as he has been severely really flustered by Yachiru a few times already, but that alone is going to be very intriguing because it's usually the girl who falls first, but in this case Yachiru's focus is on her becoming powerful, big her, and the only reason she asked Kitty for his help is because she was only able to grow with him and he seemed nice. So Kitty just wants to help her, but he gets to satisfy his complex being with her. But that definitely won't be enough with time, and I can confidently say that because he's already worried about it in both chapters, saying he doesn't want to fall for her because he doesn't want to betray her trust in him. To that I say, give up, Kitty, you're already cooked. But he's going to try and fight it, not because he seems stubborn, but because he seems like a very earnest guy. He's kind and caring, and it seems being honest is a really big point for him, which makes for a great character. What also helps is that he's 19, and I'm assuming in college because he says he's on summer break, but being older, quote unquote, makes him much more of an emotionally honest character, at least with himself. So with that maturity, I'm expecting for him to be fantastic, because he already is. Yachiru is timid and shy, which definitely makes her adorable, especially because of the difference in her height to personality, but it also leaves her with a lack of confidence. And sometimes with characters that can be annoying, but with how really open and willing she has already been to getting past it and changing, I think she will also be a fantastic character, because she also already is. But like with all my early recommendations, I just hope for more in terms of chapters and story expansion, but that's something that'll just come with time. So what I can really hope is that it doesn't get yokai crazy, because if you've seen stuff with yokai in it before, you know there are a lot of wacky ones that I feel would just make the story too silly. Similarly, I'm hoping that yokai aren't even a big part of the story. Maybe Yachiru has some yokai friends, but with her not wanting people to see her grow, in part because her clothes doesn't really grow with her, I wonder if they're really well known to exist in this world, and if they're not, I hope it stays like that to some degree, because one of the best parts about this is that it does feel more grounded and realistic, even though it has this yokai aspect. But if the people of this world already know that yokai do exist and they go on an 8-foot-tall date, I'm here for it. But since the story so far has a down-to-earth feel, even with her being a yokai, I'm really hoping it doesn't lose that. So if this seems interesting to you, or if you would be down to have a giant girlfriend, leave a like and subscribe. And if you want more recommendations, check out the playlist in the description box below. And if you want another giant girl manga, check out Charity's Love is 8 Meters. I'll leave it in the end card. Other than that, I'll see all of you in the next one.